After the spectacular Las Vegas Grand Prix, we're going to go through and rate each and every one of the drivers and see how they got on over the race weekend. And we're going to start with the eventual race winner, Max Verstappen. And actually, he had a poor start to his weekend, wasn't it? Not such a great qualifying session, but he lined up P2 thanks to that shocking Carlos Sainz penalty. And he got into the lead, didn't he? Had to run Charles Leclerc wide, but he got a 5-second penalty for that. And we'd normally see him just run off into distance, make up that time on track. But it wasn't to be, was it? That Red Bull was actually surprisingly really hard on its medium tyres. Something that had been the forte of that Red Bull was actually, strangely, it was really, really poor, wasn't it? He was passed by Charles Leclerc on lap 15. And then it looked like when he got onto the hard tyres, that really did like that car. He was absolutely flying. He was came out 9th and he was right up there, wasn't he? 5th place, just after a couple of laps. But it was, yeah, a difficult race weekend overall. But eventually it just came to him in that second safety car stop. He had got that little collision with George Russell, didn't he, which had a bit of damage to his front wing. But yeah, that really, the change of the race for him was that second safety car, and that gave him the opportunity to come on to fresher medium tyres, and he really made the most of them, didn't he? Passed his teammate Sergio, and then got the pass on Charles Leclerc. And I wouldn't say comfortable, but built up a lead of about 4 seconds once he managed to break that toe from Charles Leclerc behind. But overall, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 because I don't think it was his best weekend. He wasn't very happy with Vegas at the beginning, but he was absolutely loving it at the end, wasn't he? But yeah, 8 out of 10 for Max Verstappen for this weekend. Next up, I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc, who finished 2nd place, and a P1 start. Actually, he should have really won that race, and it was the second safety car which really cost him, didn't it? Because he was in the driving seat. He had the better tyre on at that stage with fresher rubber than his rivals of Max Verstappen. He'd managed to, you know, get Perez, or he would have got Perez, and yeah, it was looking like he was in the pound seat, wasn't it? But it wasn't to be, unfortunately. But he was been really, really good. He was on it throughout, didn't just let the first lap turn 1 incident get to his head. He just knuckled down, made the pass on track for P1, and yeah, I think he would have really, really made that work, but it wasn't to be. But overall, I'm going to go for a 10 out of 10. He got driver of the day also, and that last lap pass on Sergio Perez was brilliant, wasn't it? I expected Perez to defend harder than he did, but he, you know, all he can do is just race what's in front of him, and yeah, fantastic to get that P2. It was well deserved. A brilliant weekend for Ferrari. The only downside of his weekend was that where he outbraked himself, didn't he, and let that P2 slip to Sergio in the first place. But yeah, much better from Ferrari, better from Charles Leclerc after a really disappointing Brazilian Grand Prix last time out. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for Charles Leclerc. Fantastic. Then comes Sergio Perez, and he had a really poor qualifying session, didn't he? Started in 11th place after the penalties. He pitted on lap 2 because he got in a bit of a, well, got caught out by Alonso's spin, didn't he? Went into the back of Bottas, broke his front wing. And then it just looked like it'd be a difficult race for him from there on, didn't it? But he went onto the mediums, and as I say, he was flying on them mediums. Did really, really well. That second, really, really well. As the cars came in for the pits, he was, you know, well up there. And the second safety car really fell fantastically for him, didn't it? He got on the fresher tyres, made the pass on Charles Leclerc, and then thought it just run off with it, wouldn't he? And it'd be a matter of Max trying to hunt him down, but it wasn't to be. He got past Charles Leclerc and then struggled. Charles Leclerc then made a repass on him, which was a bit strange, and I think it was purely down to the setup, wasn't it? Sergio Perez going from more higher downforce setup than his teammate, and compared to that of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and it really cost him down that big long straight. We've seen other cars go down this route, and it just doesn't work out, does it? Especially with the DRS. As soon as you're out of DRS, you're a sitting duck. So I'm surprised drivers still go for that. There obviously is some benefits to that. If you're up in the lead and running away with it, then clearly yes, it's fine, because you can look after your tyres better and all that comes with that. But Yeah, fantastic result overall though. Shame he didn't hold on to that P2 from Charles Leclerc. He should have defended that much harder, but then he did, especially given what happened to him last time out with Alonso. He missed out there as well, didn't he? So yeah, I thought a bit more aggression from him there, which is surprising. You didn't see that because he's normally really feisty on that, isn't he? But it was a brilliant recovery drive from him from last, from turn 1 back into the lead at one point, then to finish third. I'm going to go for a 9 out of 10. I would have given him a 10, but I think he should have just done better holding off Charles Leclerc. Then in fourth place, I'm going to go with Esteban Ocon. Well, you know, he started way down, 16th place to 4th. A fantastic job, brilliant from him all weekend. You just wasn't expecting Alpine to do well at all this weekend. It was really down to the, you know, a race where you thought they are going to struggle here today. But yeah, brilliant from Ocon. Best of the rest, 4th place. I don't think they would have thought in their wildest dream they would have been on there. I'm going to go for a 10 out of 10 because that was just a brilliant drive, well deserved. Big points for that team. Next up, Lance Stroll, another one, 5th place finish for him. He started in 19th place. He got that 5-second grid place penalty for the passing under the yellow flag in practice, end of practice 3. Seems a long time ago now, that, doesn't it? But overall, yeah, it worked out really well for him. He started on the softs, got the most out of them early on with the early passing, stayed out of trouble, didn't he, on turn 1. And then the lap 4 safety car for Norris really helped him out, didn't he? He came in on the hards, and that really made it work all the way through to the end for Lance Stroll. Yeah, 5th place finish, fantastic job for him. You know, he's been under a lot of pressure, and his last 2 performances have been really good, haven't they? And he needs to just keep this momentum going into next season. Obviously, he's keeping that seat. He was really under pressure. He had some shocking performances throughout this season, so it's good to see that it's, you know, coming good for him. And it was actually a difficult race, wasn't it? They were qualified way down, did that Aston Martin team, but a 5th place finish, a fantastic job. I'm going to go for a 10 out of 10 because there's lots of 10s handing out this weekend, isn't it? It was just a really interesting race. Some cars just you didn't think were going to perform, really did perform. And next up, Carlos Sainz, a P6 finish. His was the most disappointing race weekend of all, and it's not his fault at all, is it? I mean, that P1 incident with the drain grid absolutely destroying his car, and then subsequently that 10 place grid penalty was just the biggest injustice in motorsports. It was absolutely shocking. Yeah, it just destroyed it because he was going to line up second behind Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, and I think the 2 Ferraris working together would have made a different proposition for that race. You know, I think from there on it would have looked like at least one of them Ferraris winning from there. We know we've seen them destroy themselves before, but yeah, from P12 to P6, he got stuck behind George Russell and Alonso a little bit, didn't he? It was in a bit of a battle with Alonso throughout that race early doors, both of them passing each other. Got past Alonso and then got past again. It was a great little battle, but he just didn't have the fantastic pace where we thought he'd be right up into the podium positions. Just got stuck in a lot more traffic, and I thought he probably could have been in and around 4th place at the end. Had probably like the strategy just worked out for him, and the safety cars probably fallen in place. Like it did for Sergio, it didn't quite work for Sainz, did it, unfortunately, because it would have been great to see him fighting up there. But it just didn't happen. But overall, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 because qualifying was fantastic, and a lot of this is just fallen out of something that's just been completely out of his control. And I'll be just hoping for a better result and race next time out in Abu Dhabi. The next comes Lewis Hamilton. He finished in 7th place, and it's been an overall not the greatest weekend for him, has it? Wasn't good in qualifying, started way down in 10th place in the end, and then midway through he got in a bit of a tap with Oscar Piastri, which caused a hard tyre to deflate puncture, and it was just really unfortunate timing, wasn't it? Happened just as he went. It didn't happen immediately, basically, where he could have just, like Oscar, gone straight into the pits, because it was just around the corner from the pit straight, he wouldn't have lost an awful lot of time, but then he had to carry that puncture all the way around the lap. And then it was a really slow pit stop on that, and it was only like lap 20 into the race, and that hard tyre should have gone a lot further. I think he would have been one of them to benefit massively from the second safety car with that strategy, but it just didn't go well for him at all this weekend, did it, in Vegas? Probably one to forget and move on from here. I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10 because overall it just wasn't very good for Lewis at all, was it? Next up, his teammate George Russell. He finished in 8th place, and that's purely down to that 5-second penalty with that collision with Max Verstappen. Otherwise, it was a really good qualifying 3rd place on the grid for him, and it looked like he'd be comfortable for 4th place at least. But he got that penalty, and that dropped him down from 4th, effectively, where he finished passing Ocon down to 8th. So yeah, really disappointing race because he was in it, a good battle, but yeah, just not a great weekend for Mercedes overall, is it? But I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 for him, dropping a couple there. It probably should be really a 7, I think. 6 seems a bit harsh. It was just that little incident with Verstappen that really cost him in the end, which otherwise 4th place would have been a decent result for him, considering that car hasn't been great here this weekend. Next up is Fernando Alonso. He finished in 9th place. He started in 9th place. He'll be a bit disappointed, wasn't he? He was beaten by his teammate, who started way further down than he did. But yeah, that spin right into turn 1 really cost him early on. Came to the pits, he was running at the back then, and then to recover and finish 9th is a pretty decent result in the end, I suppose. But I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 for Fernando Alonso. It's a bit odd seeing him make them mistakes down into turn 1. Normally his starts and the way he positions his car, he's normally a master and always one to make up positions. Didn't quite work out for him this time out, did it? But decent race from Fernando Alonso. Then comes Oscar Piastri. He finished in 10th place. He started in 18th, and it was at one point looking really good for him, wasn't he? He was up into 11th early on, made his way around and navigated that turn 1 brilliantly, and he was running up in like 5th place at one point, the double hard strategy. But yeah, it cost him a little bit because he just had to pit right at the end for the mediums. He got the fastest lap, so an extra point for him as well. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a reality check for McLaren this weekend, wasn't it? I personally thought they'd do a lot better than they actually have done. Probably a bit naive thinking that, because it was similar to Monza where they did struggle a little bit, especially down these faster long straights. But I thought with the tyre temperature and warm-up issues they might sort of grab that and do really well, as they have done previously, but it just wasn't to be. But overall, yeah, some points for Oscar, but I think he'd be disappointed, and hopefully hoping for better next time out in Abu Dhabi. I'm going to go for Oscar Piastri. What have we given him? Can't find him on the sheet now. A 9 out of 10. I suppose from P18 to P10 is a pretty good result, isn't it? Next up is Pierre Gasly. Fantastic qualifying and a shocking race, isn't it? It's the story of two halves for him, isn't it? His race weekend. Brilliant qualifying. A 4th place start for him, Pierre Gasly, but to finish 11th, he suffered with really a lot of graining on his front tyres on the hards, and that really just meant he struggled from there on. He had like 20 laps to go with graining tyres, and he also had a battery issue to handle. He'd be disappointed because he was, comfortable looking 4th, 5th place, easy for him, and it would have been a fantastic overall points for Alpine, but it just wasn't to be for Pierre Gasly in the end. I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10. I'm giving him a bit more just because his race was poor, but his qualifying was fantastic, and a real shame for Pierre this weekend. Next up, Alex Albon in 12th place, and yes, again another story of two halves, wasn't it? Fantastic Saturday, lining up in 5th place in the race, and I thought they would just have enough straight line speed to hold on. He had just that one shocking lap where he went down from P8 to P12, and it was just because the car just chewed up them tyres, didn't it? It was too late to pit and do anything else at that stage. I'm surprised he kind of didn't try that because they were out of the points. But yeah, the only benefit for him this weekend is, as I say, the rivals didn't score any points, but not the best race. I think they would have been hoping for an awful lot more considering how well qualifying went. Alex Albon, I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I was just a bit disappointed with that result in the end. Kevin Magnussen, a 13th place finish. Again, another disappointment. Started in 8th place. I just thought they'd go better here because the colder temperature should have really helped them with the tyre warm-up issues that they've normally, or the graining issues that they've had. They normally go too hot and wear them down. And I thought the cooler temperatures might really help them out here. It wasn't to be in the end, was it? But yeah, I guess you could just look on to next year and hopefully they can start off brilliantly well and pick up some points, but it's kind of gone wrong. The big upgrade hasn't really worked for the Haas team, has it at all? Disappointing weekend in the end. I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10 for Kevin Magnussen. Then comes Daniel Ricciardo, 14th place finish, and I personally thought AlphaTauri were on a bit of a roll and I thought they'd do well here. It wasn't to be, was it? It was poor in qualifying. Daniel Ricciardo starting in 14th place, finished in 14th in the end. That's just as good as that car had this weekend, wasn't it? Which is a real shame. They kind of didn't pick up or carry through that momentum that they've had in the last race. I know Formula 1 doesn't really work like that. It's circuit to circuit and how that car suits that track. That normally it's how it goes. But yeah, I think they'll be disappointed. They were on a bit of a roll, picking up points and looking for that battle for P7. It goes down to the last race, but yeah, disappointing weekend for Daniel Ricciardo. I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10 for him. Zhou Guanyu, 15th place finish in the end. Beats his teammate in the race, but it was a shocking weekend overall, I think. He just was poor. Yeah, just poor. Poor in qualifying. Not such a great race either. I think he only beat his teammate because of what happened to Valtteri on lap 1. Otherwise, I don't think that would have been the case. Disappointing. I'm going to go for a 4 out of 10 for him. Logan Sargent next, P16 finish. Again, he just fell back early and the race just got progressively worse for him as the tyres worn out. It's a real shame because it was a great starting position to finish in, starting 6th place. But he just dropped out of the points fairly early on and then that was it for him. I'm going to go for a 5 out of 10 for him. Mainly just because I think a 5 because of his qualifying result. Otherwise, looking at a 4 really. Valtteri Bottas finished in 7th place. He had a fantastic qualifying 8th place start for him. But yeah, it just went downhill in the race at the first corner again, unfortunately, when he's qualified well. It just kind of hasn't happened for him, has it? And then it was just a struggle of a race for him from there. I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 just because his qualifying performance was absolutely fantastic. Yuki Tsunoda, Yuki-san has struggled here this weekend, doesn't he? Just never really seemed to get to grips with the circuit. Started way down and finished last of the runners. A disappointing weekend for him. I'm going to go for a 4 out of 10 for Yuki. And then we've got the 2 DNFs. I'm going to go for Nico Hülkenberg first because he went further in the race, got to lap 47. Again, he wasn't doing massively great, was he, either in the race, but yeah, DNF in the end. Topped off a disappointing weekend for him. No rating. He did finish the race. And Lando Norris only got to lap 3. It was looking good actually, wasn't it? Potentially they could have nicked some points, but running 11th and 12th very early on, and then that strange crash to lose the rear there, unless it was just because of the cold tyres and the lower temperatures, meaning the car might have bottomed out. He lost that rear. I've not really heard much on that. I know it was very dusty and cold early on and tyre warm-up was an issue, but by lap 3 he thought he might have got the tyres up to operating temperature. Wasn't to be. Not a rating for him considering he only got 3 laps in the race. But there we go. Overall, it was a fantastic Las Vegas Grand Prix, wasn't it? Yeah, after the shocking start with the drain gate, it was just, that was a shocker. Apparently there's a bit of a class action going on, isn't it? All them spectators that got kicked out and thrown out on Thursday despite that, trying to sue back because a £200 voucher to spend in the store, Formula 1 store, is, yeah, not great, is it? When you spent an awful lot of money on tickets to watch some Formula 1 cars. It's been an expensive venue, hasn't it, to get into and get some tickets, but overall it was spectacular. The show was spectacular, the racing was spectacular, and overall it looks like a big win for Formula 1, first time out in Vegas, despite the little hiccup at the beginning. But yeah, looking forward to it again next time. And off to Abu Dhabi we go. It's a quick turnaround, isn't it? 1 week, and that's the last race of the Formula 1 calendar, sadly. Watch out for the Abu Dhabi preview coming middle of the week, and then yeah, right into qualifying. It should be fantastic. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. I'll see you next time.